Hello everybody and welcome back. In this video we're going to be using the getUsers function inside of our users page provider so that we can grab the users that are inside of our Firestore application and then display them inside of our users page. So with that said, let's get into it and let's see how we're going to be doing it. So to get started, I'll go to my users page provider class, and then I'm going to go and create a new function inside of here, which I'll call void, which means it won't return anything. And I'm going to call it getUsers. And then I'll say that this getUsers function is going to take in an optional named argument, which is going to be called name. And then that this function is going to be an asynchronous function. I'm going to say that I'll set my selected users list to be empty before I get users. And then what I'm going to do is that I'll say that I'm going to have a try catch block. Inside of my catch block, I'm just going to print these two very simple print statements saying error getting users, and then I'm going to say print error. And with this, we're ready to actually add the code inside of our try block. So what I'm going to do is that I'll take my DB or database, and I'm going to say that database dot, and then I'm going to call the getUsers function that we had created. And for now, what I'll do is that for the name, I'll pass the name that we get into this function. And with this, what I'll do is that I'll call the then clause on it. So do this query, and then once you get a result, call this function. So for the then function, we know that we, for the value, get a snapshot. So I'm going to rename the value to be underscore snapshot. And with this, I'll remove this function to be an arrow function and add these curly brackets so that we can define multiple lines inside of here. First things that I'm going to do is that I'll create a users list, which we already have here, as you can see, and I'll set that users list to be equal to underscore snapshot dot, and then I'm going to say documents dot map, and then inside of the map function, for each of the documents, I'll return an instance of our chat user. So to do that, I'll remove the arrow function again. I'll add the semicolon at the end, and I'm going to say that we're going to create a map of type string, comma, and then I'm going to say dynamic. And this is going to be called underscore data, and it is going to be equal to the document that we just got, and we'll call the data function on it, and then we'll cast it as a string, comma, dynamic. With this done, I'm going to add a semicolon. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say that then I'm going to return a chat user dot from JSON. So I'm going to return a chat user instance using the from JSON factory method, and to that I'll give the data function, and that's pretty much all we had to do. And then if we hover over it, it's going to give us an error saying that we're returning an iterable of type chat user instead of a list of chat user. So to fix this error, to my map call, I'm going to append a to list, and that's pretty much all we had to do. Now I'm just going to add the remaining commas that I need just for reformatting issues to make the code look better. And before I restart my application, I'm going to add another field to my data map, which is going to be the UID field, because that isn't present. And I'm going to say that the UID is going to be equal to the dog.id, because we know for each of the user documents, their ID refers to the unique user ID assigned to them through Firebase. And do command save. And that's pretty much all we had to do. So once we've done all of that, we'll just call the notify listeners function, which will let the UI know, which is listening to this specific class, that it's time for it to re-render itself. Now that this is done, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go back to my users page, and inside of my users page, I'll try to show the data. So what I'll do is that inside of my users page, I'll go to the users list function, and here what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say that before this function returns anything, I'm going to create a list of chat user, and this is going to be an optional list, and I'll set that equal to be underscore users, and I'll set that equal to page provider, and then I'll call users on it. With this done, I'll do command save, and then I'm going to go inside of my ListView.builder function, and inside of my ListView.builder function, I am going to modify some things. But before we modify anything inside of my ListView.builder, I'm going to go to the child function for my expanded widget, and I'm going to say if our users are not equal to null, then you're going to be doing something. And what are you going to do? You're going to return this list view. So let's do that. And if the users are null, then we're going to be doing something else. If the users are null, then what we'll do is that we'll return a center widget. And the center widget is going to have a child, which is going to be a circular progress indicator. And it's going to have a color, which is going to be colors.white. With this, I'll add a semicolon at the end, do Alt-Shift-F, add a comma here as well, Alt-Shift-F command save, and that you're going to see that now we're seeing a circular progress indicator because our users list is empty. But before we restart our application, I'm going to add the remaining logic inside of our users list function as well. So if our users are not equal to null, then we return this list view. But what if our users length is 0? Well, in that case, what I'll do is that I'll add another statement where if statement where I'll say if our users.length is not equals to 0, that means that we should render a list view. And if it is, then we should render something else where we can't find the user or something like that. And then if that is not the case, then we're going to be returning something else. And in that case, we'll return a center widget. And this center widget is going to have a child, which is going to be a text widget. And the text widget is going to say that no users found. So I'm going to just quickly type that in, no users found, add a period. And after that, I'm going to add the style. And the style is going to be text style. And then it's going to have a color, which is going to be colors.white. With this, I'll add a comma here as well, do Alt-Shift-F. And it's giving me an error. I believe it's because I missed a parentheses. Alt-Shift-F command, save. And now if I restart my application, go to the users list, you're going to see that nothing happens. And that is why, because we created our actual get users function, but we never called it. So to do that, I'll go to my users page providers constructor. And once we've assigned all of our variables their values, I'm going to call the get users function, add a semicolon at the end, do Alt-Shift-F command, save. Now I'm going to restart my application. And it's going to open up. And now if we go to our users page, we do not get anything as well. And the reason for that is, well, we are inside of our users page now rendering the proper list, but we're not showing the or displaying the proper information inside of our custom list view tile. So now we have to do that. So, well, to do that, what we'll do is that we'll say that for the title is not now going to be the title that we were sending, but else it's going to be the users list, and we'll go to the specific index and then we'll grab the user's name. For the subtitle, it's not going to be the subtitle that we pass in, but we're going to take the last active, and then to that we'll add this value, which is going to be, we'll take the appropriate user from our users list by doing users and then the index, and then I'll call the last day active function. And that's pretty much all we had to do. With this done, we can now define the image path, and the image path, as you guys have guessed it, is going to be underscore users and then the appropriate index, and from there we will have the image URL. Then for is active, it's going to be fairly simple as well. It's going to be our underscore users and then the underscore index. And then from there, I'm going to say the function was recently active. And finally, for is selected, we'll add that later on. And for the on tap function, I'll add that later on as well. So with this, if I do command save, it's going to give me an error saying that our users are not in range. And I know why that error was given to us is because if I stop the debugging process, or if I restart my application and do not go to the users page, that's because our item count is set to 10, and that's not the correct item count. The item count needs to be the correct item count, which is our users.length. So with this, hopefully this is all of the changes that we would have to make, and it's not allowing me to do anything. So I'm going to do users.length, and it just keeps adding an additional line, I do not know, and length, and then add a comma and do command save, and then I'm going to run the application. So now I'm going to pause the video here, and I'll see you guys once the application is actually running on the simulator. And fingers crossed, these are all of the changes that we had to do. Hello guys, and welcome back. So now that the application is loaded, if we go to our actual users page, you're going to see that we are shown the appropriate users. So we can see Margaret, Brad, Robert, Keanu, Hussein, and Leonardo. And we're seeing all of the users right now because we haven't given a name through our search field. And we'll do that later on, but at least for now we can actually see all of the users inside of my application. If I go back to chats, come back to users, you're going to see that we see the loading indicator, and then all of the users are presented to us. So with that, I'm going to end this video here, and I'll see you guys in the next video where we'll add some more functionality to our users page provider. So thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.